Look up from your telescope, take me on this journey home. I don't wanna wait no more.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl Erica Vane back to jump a little bit deeper into one of our favorite characters, Spencer James. And I wanted to talk about specifically his superhero complex. I've already broken down Olivia's sobriety journey, so this video seemed only right. Let's get into it. Y'all, I really just wanted to do a deeper dive into Spencer and Olivia and just talk specifically about two of the major characteristics of these characters. Olivia struggles with her sobriety, Spencer struggles with his superhero complex, and they are just two very, very defining things about these characters that tend to be the foundation for a lot of the mishaps or the mistakes that we see them actually engage in throughout the seasons. If you haven't already, please be sure to add to the list next to watch my Olivia's sobriety journey video. I put a lot of work and thought and time into that video where I break down Olivia's sobriety journey and dive a little bit deeper into her relapse, her addiction, and have a real conversation that's not to demonize her at all for this particular character trait, but honestly, kind of to normalize the conversation around it so that we all can get to a much better place where we're really, really comfortable with talking about Olivia's addiction and alcoholism. I definitely want you guys to check it out, so it'll be linked in the cards above in the description box down below. But in this video, I'm going to jump deeper into Spencer's superhero complex because, child, Mr. Spencer James, put everyone first, sacrifice yourself, fall on the sword. He is just, I can't. We have seen this come to a head for him, specifically with his relationship with Olivia, with the car crash scene, as well as when she ran away and they discover her relapse, and he has to fight with himself in reference to what to do next. And it's only when Grace tells him that he has to focus on himself, he has to take care of himself first, he cannot always try to save everyone else, that he is actually finally really confronted. You know what? I lied. Dr. Spears and Grace both presenting this argument to him, but in this season, it's the first time he's confronted with this idea that he needs to focus on himself, that he cannot save everyone. And while we did see in the cabin episode Coop go on her whole rant and basically say that she wanted Spencer to believe that she had the possibility or she would be able to save herself, that also did not necessarily click yet. It is not until Spencer has this whole falling out with Olivia, the big scene where we see, him discover that she has relapsed, and then the subsequent time after in which Grace has to tell him, like, I told you how to love, or I taught you how to love with sacrifice. I know that this is ingrained in you, but now it's time to shift because at this point you are compromising yourself and your life. But I think it's really, really important to talk about where Spencer's superhero complex came from because it's something that he has to develop. Before I jump into that, I would love to read a little bit of research that I found that breaks down exactly what the superhero complex is and a little bit more information as to how it manifests. The superhero complex is a psychoanalytical term created by psychologist Sigmund Freud. The superhero complex, also known as the hero syndrome or hero complex, is one of these and is when someone has an inherent desire, a compulsion to help people. However, it is not officially a disease or disorder. People with superhero complex tend to be very loyal and dependable, and when given a challenge will almost always find a way to complete it. These traits help make them really great leaders and friends. Their extensive thought process makes them great for giving advice and opinions in addition to giving of their abilities and talents when they can. Their higher standards, however, tend to carry the risk of overextending themselves, causing depression and withdrawal that might lead to them becoming a destructive individual. Now, we haven't seen Spencer become a destructive individual per se. He's definitely had little imploding moments. Layla, definitely him reuniting with Layla in that moment in this season is textbook superhero syndrome, and it became a very destructive decision that we learned about later on, given all of the information that we know of what happened prior to that and where his mind actually was. Now I want to jump back into where Spencer's superhero complex came from. Now, I don't have concrete research regarding this, y'all, but for me, all signs of Spencer's superhero complex manifesting points to Corey leaving. Being a person that resonates very deeply with, empathetic people, I am a Cancer. I feel very deeply about things. I care very deeply about things. I am fiercely loyal, and one of my love languages is acts of service. So I've said this numerous times in videos, y'all, but I definitely look at myself like a female Spencer. Speaking from that point of view, I get it. Like, you want to be able to show your value in relationships, whether it's family or friends or romantic relationships, by what you can do, who you can help, how you can save, especially if there's a need. And Spencer, coming from South Crenshaw, there's always a need, right? He's living in a household with a single parent who cannot make, ends meet all the time. The dad left, so there's an apparent need for the mom. There's no father figure in the house, so he tries to step in and save the day in that. Tries to support his mom as best as he can. Tries to be the father figure for his little brother. So that creates a very interesting dynamic in and of itself. And then he's this all-star breakout athlete at school and is notable in his community. So then there carries a weight of like saving there. So it's like how great he is really becomes a thing that helps prop up the neighborhood and make the neighborhood look good, or bring better praise to a situation where it typically will get downplayed. Like, South Crenshaw is typically looked at as something that's super gang ridden and dangerous and not worthwhile and all of that. But if you have Spencer James, superstar, NFL hopeful, going to school here, thriving here, then that starts to become a little bit of a burden for him in reference to saving the reputation of his community, or standing up and being the bright light and a great example for his community. So I feel like all of the circumstances after Corey left created this funnel for Spencer to really be able to fall into this space of being the superhero, or feeling like he needed to be the superhero, and it became a part of his identity, and he just kind of ran with it. I also want to note that it is not easy, y'all, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to say easy. It's easy for people who feel like they need to be saved to react by trying to save others, because I feel like it's almost human nature to try to do what you want done for you for other people. When I look at Spencer James, I really see all the stuff that he does for every single person around him. Not that he's doing it so that he can get it back, but ultimately he will want it, and he needs it. He needs the same support that he gives Coop. He needs the same advice that he has given to Jordan. He needs the same love that he has given to everyone. And I think that when Corey left, now we are in season 3 and we've already experienced Corey's death and they're reuniting and getting to a better place. But with his father leaving, it created this super huge hole where there was lack of love, lack of attention, lack of just a bunch of things that only Corey could provide. And then he starts trying to fill this hole with things that he has control of, when in all actuality, there's nothing that he could have really done to fill that hole. But y'all let me know what you think. Do you think that Corey is the reason why Spencer has the superhero complex that he has? Or do you think your girl Erica is tripping? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, the superhero complex is, to me, very complex. Y'all like what I did there? Anyway, because while it can be problematic when the person is leaning heavily into that personality trait and using it as an excuse to really just sacrifice themselves and compromise themselves, his superhero complex has also been a thing that has allowed him to hold himself to a high standard and push himself very hard in his life. So he's also benefited from it. It's almost become the defense mechanism that is kind of toxic but also has positive benefits, so you kind of take the good with the bad. Spencer's superhero complex has allowed for him to be a super adaptable, amendable, and great friend. You see him go to Beverly Hills, and while there's some tension right off bat, because he's new and he's different, he falls into relationships and friendships within Beverly Hills very, very easily, because he's a person who will serve others, because he's a caring person, because he's a positive person, and that is rooted in his superhero complex. Like, people are drawn to him almost because of this underlying character trait. Now, it goes a little bit too far when those people start to lean on him a little bit too much or allow him to overextend himself, compromising himself. But at the start and at the base of it, it is a good thing. The same thing when it comes to his relationship with Coop. I think that his relationship with Coop has gotten to the place that it has been because he's the type of person with his superhero complexes that can really just double down and go all in relationships because he wants to receive that subconsciously, and ultimately he wants to feel valued. So that's the part that I really should have said while I was talking about Corey. With Corey leaving, it left a void, or it left a space where you kind of don't feel valued. If you feel like someone has abandoned you, then it must be because you weren't worthwhile staying around, right? And though that's not the real truth of what's actually happening, that's what you tell yourself. And a lot of this superhero complex is manifested because you're trying to also prove your worth. You're trying to prove your worth to your friends, you're trying to prove your worth to your family, you're trying to prove your worth to your romantic partners, and you're trying to prove your worth to society. Now I just feel like I'm kind of rambling, so I'm going to cut this video here, but I did want to take a moment to talk about Spencer's superhero complex. Now, as we move through the rest of season 3, we are actually seeing Spencer confront his superhero complex. Shout out to Dr. Spears, who's helping him work through that. I am looking forward to Spencer continuing to set up boundaries, to honoring his own boundaries and respecting himself and showing himself self-love. I don't think that he's had to struggle as much as Olivia has in reference to self-love, because I do believe that Spencer loves himself, but I do believe that his destructive behavior to himself manifests by way of him sacrificing himself for others. So I'm looking forward to seeing more moments where he actually chooses himself and he's actually able to grow, learn, and evolve by doing so. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comment section down below, what did you think of this video? Do you think that Spencer has a superhero complex? Let me know all your thoughts, comments, and questions in the comment section down below. And if you're new here, I'm Erica Bain, and I post new All-American videos every day, sometimes twice a day, and you should really join the tribe by hitting subscribe. We have the best All-American community on the internet. We have the most amazing conversations in our comment section. Like, we literally go back and forth and really break everything down, and I absolutely love it. And y'all, I love talking with y'all so very much, and I think that you're gonna love it too. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like this video before you head out, and I have some suggestions for you right here. So if you're looking for a new series to watch, you can click here, or if you've missed any of my All-American videos, you can catch up right here. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.
You already knew though, I'm hiding just behind the stars, but how come the stars don't shine?